Hi lovely, welcome. So today we're going to be talking about healthy masculinity in your yoga practice. And I think this is such an interesting topic because there's a lot of man bashing that goes around, and I hope that my last couple of lives haven't come across in any kind of negative way about men. It's more the problem with the patriarchy kind of controlling society, but men are a victim of that as well. So I just wanted to, I guess, bring a little bit of masculine energy into my live this week and talk about the really healthy side of that and how we can utilize it in our practice. So first of all, I think it's important to highlight that masculinity and femininity are like a complete spectrum. And we've got these two sides and then everything in between as well. So if the words masculine and feminine don't really vibe too well with you, you can substitute masculine for yang and feminine for yin. It's just the way that we speak about things as humans in duality. Everything's good, bad, love, hate, up, down. Like, we just like to split things in half like that. So I really enjoy the kind of image of like masculine and feminine qualities, and I think it's so important for a healthy person to have a good balance of both. So going into masculinity or yang qualities, however you want to frame it for yourself, yoga can be quite masculine traditionally. There's a lot of in some not very good ways, in some exclusatory ways, but also in some really awesome and important ways as well. And these qualities are things that we would want to cultivate in our practice. So masculine qualities can be things like having discipline, and it's kind of a harsh one to start with, I suppose, but if you really do want to get anywhere with your yoga practice, you have to be disciplined about it. And especially if you're using menstrual healing yoga practices that I share, either in the group or if you're doing my online course, I always say, like, if you can practice daily, it's going to make such a huge difference than if you're only sort of pop it in every couple of weeks. And it's not to say that it's not beneficial to do that. Like, even if you did a yoga practice once a month, it would have a massive impact. But if you can get into a daily routine where it just becomes part of what you do, like the same as brushing your teeth, it's so much easier to maintain. And there's a lot of, research behind habits and why that is. But it's also just every day being able to get into that Zen mind frame and taking that into your day with you. And that's where, it's important to realize that yoga, or specifically the yoga that I share, really isn't just stretching. It's about so much more than that. It's about breathing, and it's about yoga nidra and mantra, bringing in the tantric practices as well. Hello, whoever's just joined, welcome. And yeah, so all of these things come together, and you can do them on a daily basis. Like, full disclosure, I'm not there doing a whole hour's yoga practice every single day. I don't always have time for that. But I do have time for a little 10-minute alternate nostril breathing, or before I go to bed, like a 10-minute yoga nidra on a really busy day. So yeah, I think just making time for it and being disciplined about it is a really awesome masculine or yang quality to bring into your practice. Okay, so similarly, focus, that's like a really good one to have in your practice. So it's that this kind of works on so many levels, but it's things like when you're practicing, being quite strict about that and not sort of stopping to scroll through Instagram, or sort of making your housemates or your friends or family aware that this is your practice time and it's your time to focus. And, if they can leave you alone just for 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever you can get, like, that would be really awesome, so you can get in the zone. You can take this to another level as well and say it's about focusing on the same practices every day, or being disciplined in that way, that you're like only working on pranayama or your headstand or whatever it is. That's an area that doesn't vibe too well with me. I like to kind of complement that side of things with a bit of femininity, but we'll get into that next week. I'm very much about just following like my intuition on the day and doing what feels good to me. But I know that it is good to bring some focus into your practice, so maybe that's something for later life that I'll be able to get into. So, the next one would be taking purposeful action, and I've kind of just covered that really. So yeah, making sure that your practice is sort of relevant to the powers that you're trying to cultivate. But specifically, we can go into menstrual healing yoga here and think, okay, how can I make my yoga practice purposeful? So it's not just a quick stretch or like a few deep breaths, but the goal here is to improve my menstrual health, so I can focus all of my different practices that I bring in onto menstrual healing, which is something that I like really help clients to guide you through, but it's also something that you can cultivate for yourself just by checking out some of the posts in the group. The #Movement Monday post would be really great for that, just to get things really going in the right direction and focusing, because I think that when we've got a purposeful action that we're taking, it's much easier to commit to the practice, because it's like every day, like, oh, I'm doing this for my menstrual health and my yoni and my happiness. Whereas if we're just like, oh, I should probably stretch, it's going to be a lot harder to come down onto the mat every day. Okay. So, the next one is strength and stability. And this is true definitely in your physical practice. So when you're holding things really strong, you've not got like sloppy technique where you're going to be maybe putting your body into a dangerous position or like moving too quickly. So strength and stability, really holding yourself strong. Pressing into your hands, pressing into the knuckles, pulling up out of your shoulders, lifting out of your hips, and just having all of that really strong alignment going on to protect the physical body, but also mental strength and stability. And this comes back to discipline as well, but also during your practice, just really intentionally focusing on the breath as much as you can. And every time the mind wanders, which it inevitably will, we bring the attention back to the breath, back to the body. And the purpose of that really is to improve our awareness of thought, strengthen the brain, sensitize us to bodily awareness, and eventually our energetic awareness. So yeah, it's definitely important to really get that stability of mind going on just as much as strength in the body. And the second to last one now is holding space for yourself and others. And this is a really beautiful siddhi or female power that I was actually coaching one of my clients, Shannon Malseed, with the other day or yesterday, because it's really cool to be in your life experiences and be creating space and holding space for others. And through that act of creating space for others and looking after others, we can use that as something that we actually bring back to ourselves and cultivate unconditional love for ourselves, holding space for our own emotions, and holding space really for our challenges as well, more than the good things, in a sense, is important. Obviously, it's important to hold space for excitement and joy and love, and all those things are really great. But if we can hold space for our challenges, and show others how to do that as well, that's so important. And it is quite a masculine quality. Like men in particular are often really, really good at this, just holding space for a woman's emotions or whatever she's going through with her menstrual cycle or all the other things that you could be going through. But not always. It's not all these qualities aren't necessarily about men and women. It's just masculinity and femininity that we should all have a healthy balance of. Or not should, but it's what we're working to cultivate. So yeah, I think, just being able to hold that space for our emotions and during our yoga practice specifically, that might mean when we're doing some hip openers and some trauma gets released or some emotions get released, just making sure to allow yourself to cry or allow yourself to really feel in that moment and hold space for yourself instead of thinking like, oh, I'm an awful person for crying, which I've been a victim of, and having to be like strong and masculine about it. There's almost a bit of femininity that creeps in here where we're holding space for ourselves and allowing that to flow through, which is really, really beautiful and important actually to practice. It's definitely something I've been working on recently as well. So the last one is stepping into your power. I think we often think of masculine traits as quite powerful and strong, as I've already mentioned. But this is something that will come more and more with your yoga practice as you increase that awareness of thought. You start to not allow your ego or your mind or whatever you want to call it, that voice in your head, to run your whole life. And you get to tap into your intuition, or, you know, some believe that this comes from your soul or your heart, listening to your heart over your head, whatever you want to call it. We have this ability to connect to something that's a little bit higher than all the chatter that goes on and really step into that power. Especially as a woman, I think this is so important, to listen to your woman's intuition and move through and into that. So yeah, I guess on a mental and energetic level we have that, but also just physically speaking, through these healing yoga practices, being able to like get out of bed when you're on your period. And yes, I always say like, please rest, please look after yourself. It's an awesome time to meditate, but life happens sometimes as well. And sometimes we do just have to get out of bed and go and do it. And if you're in an intense amount of pain, either emotionally or physically, then sometimes it's hard to even leave the room, or if you can't leave your bedroom, or if you can't be far away from a toilet because you're experiencing really heavy periods and flooding, like that's really tough as well. So all of these things, if we can get them sorted out and healed through our menstrual healing yoga practices or whatever it is that you like to do, then yeah, we can really step into our power as women with a bit of that yang quality or masculine quality to support us. So that's it really. If you've got any healthy masculine qualities to add that you'd like to drop in the comments, that would be really awesome. And I won't go through all the details again, but please just check out the times for the menstrual healing circle that's happening right at the beginning of May. I'd absolutely love you to be there, and we'll be discussing, we're really diving deep into feminine yoga, which is actually the topic of next week as well. So I'll be here at the same time next week, discussing how to bring the healthy feminine into your yoga practice, which is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm excited. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.